Sadgurunath Maharaj Ki Jai. And welcome to Jagadambe Reads the Holy Books of India, Mahabharata 312. As you may remember, Krishna had taken Radheya aside and asked him why he was doing wrong. Radheya smiled and said, "You're right, my lord. A righteous person should not side with a sinner. But Duryodhana is different. I love him. I love him too much to judge him as others do. He has been my friend. The world has looked askance at me and my valor. It's because I'm a Sutaputra. But Duryodhana is the one man who is above all that. Never once has he remembered that I'm a Sutaputra. Krishna, you may know about it or you may not. But once, in the city of Hastinapura, many years ago, I came in search of a living. There was a tournament going on then. The princes had just finished their training under the great Drona. This same Drona had refused to teach me anything because I was a Sutaputra. I went to Bhargava for my learning. You must know that I was cursed by him too, because I was a Sutaputra. Well, as I was saying, the princes of the Kaurava house had just finished their training under Drona. My visit coincided with a great display of the skill of all the princes. I was just standing by. I had no intention of announcing myself. But the smug conceit of Arjuna was just intolerable. I had to challenge him. I did, and I was not allowed to fight with him, since I was a Sutaputra. When I was being insulted by your beloved Pandavas, it was the noble-minded Duryodhana who took up my side. He made me king of Anga. We clasped hands. I asked him what I could do in return for his regal gesture. Nothing, he said. I just want your heart. Krishna, my lord, years have gone by since this incident took place, but my heart has always been with this king. I can never pass judgment on him. I have only two people who love me, Duryodhana and Radha, my mother. I live just to please these two. I'm not very enamored with this life of mine. But as long as I am alive, this heart belongs to these two, and only to these two." Krishna was silent for a moment. Then he looked at Radheya and said, "Yes, the debt of gratitude is the most difficult to pay. Radheya, I suppose you know about your birth. Do you know who you are? Do you know who your mother is?" Radheya smiled and shook his head and said, "Not much, my lord. But I know that some high-born maiden must have borne me when she was a young girl. She must have lived in the palace of the king. I have a feeling she was a princess. I know, too, that her palace was on the banks of a river. This girl evidently was more fond of her reputation than her newly born child. She abandoned me. She placed me in a box and set me afloat on the river, which hugged her palace walls. Why should I bother to find out who she is? She has not bothered about me. She's forgotten me. She must now have more children. I'm sure they are more fortunate than I am." Radheya paused for a few moments. His lips were curled up in a half smile, half sneer. Krishna was looking at him with a strange expression in his eyes. Radheya resumed his talk. He said, "But Krishna, really, I have no regrets. I have a lovely and loving mother. No one can be like her. She's proud of me, but why this talk of my birth and my mother now? This is all dead and buried in the distant past. Let us talk about the present." Krishna smiled at him. He looked at Radheya with great affection and great pity. His eyes were wet. His voice was very gentle. He said, "Radheya, you're right. Your mother was a high-born maiden. When you were born, she had to abandon you because she was afraid of the censure of the world. She was a princess. She has children now, yes, more than one, but her heart is empty. She thinks only of you, the beautiful child born with the kavacha and the kundalas, whom she abandoned long ago. Her heart is aching for you. Sadhguru Nath Maharaj Ki Jai. Thank you for coming. I hope you come again.